Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. I'm Dave. That's Tim. Hey, Tim.
Hey.
We've got some new kids to introduce to our audience that are joining the Podcast One family. We're going to do that in a few minutes, talking about the paranormal strange situations and some of the supernatural encounters they've been through. We'll do that in just a few. But to remind listeners, listen, Tim is on TV now. It's official. It just debuted this past Friday, Paranormal Night Shift on the Travel Channel, and we know that Tim, according to the slate, is in episode 3, 4, and 5, and then in a few more later on in the season. However, from my understanding, Tim, the Travel Channel might not be playing these in the same order that they were released. So watch every week because you don't know when Tim's going to pop up.
That's true.
But he's in over half of the episodes that have been made, Paranormal Night Shift. And for the listeners, again, I know we touched on this briefly yesterday, but if people didn't check out that episode yet and they're just tuning in for today, tell them a little bit about the series and what they can expect.
Well, essentially, the show surrounds people in their night jobs and paranormal experiences that they've had during their night shift. Get it? Paranormal Night Shift.
I see how that works.
And I, as the one of the paranormal experts on the program, along with our good friend Richard Estep and other paranormal experts, weigh in on the situations that these people have at their jobs. I had a good time making the show. I
got to tell you, the first episode you appear in, your first story is one of the freakiest of the batch, Tim.
It is, yeah.
It's this clown ghost that's haunting this poor janitor at a high school. I got to watch the entire thing. I just got a clip. They let me see a clip to see that you were in the show,
right,
that it was coming out.
Yeah.
And to prove it. And, but I saw just the clip of the story and it's horrifying.
It's a little scary. Yeah. There's some pretty terrifying stories within the show. The production value on it is very good. I was impressed with what I saw. I got to admit. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, that's Paranormal Night Shift. If you have not set your DVR, go do it right now. Pause the show. We'll wait.
Well, we can't pause, Dave. We have guests.
Oh,
waiting.
We can't?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we could just wait. Actually, we're not. They're pausing the show. See, I was not giving them that opportunity.
Oh, right.
Pause the show. Go set your DVR for that. All right, let's get to it, Tim. Listen, being the father of 2,000 children,
wow.
I'm always in the know. My kids like to come to me. They share weird videos that they find on the TikTok and the Instagram, Tim, and over on the Twitter.
And something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and, I'm hip. I like to be hip with the kids, stay up to date on all of this. And from time to time, my daughter will bring me a video to watch of this dreamy paranormal investigator. And, of course, being the father, I've just got to roll my eyes and scoff because, come on. Why has he got to be dreamy? Why can't you just call him a paranormal investigator? Oh, no, that's not good enough for my kids, Tim.
Well,
I got to hear how attractive this guy is. And then what's the actual slap in the face? We have him on our show today. I don't know if this is gaining any points with my daughters, but I'm willing to do it. Joining us on today's program, we have got brothers Brennen Taylor and Jake Taylor joining us. Guys, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having us on. We appreciate it. And thank you for the compliments.
Well, my daughters know what they like, and apparently you guys fall into that category. So great videos. And let's tell people a little bit about what's going on. Share Your Scares, which is hosted by YouTubers Brennen Taylor and his brother Jake. You guys have gained millions of followers by visiting all these scary sites like the suicide forest in Japan, abandoned hospitals, abandoned theme parks. And you're starting your adventure with Share Your Scares here on Podcast One. And that starts off, what is it, September 1st?
September 2nd, actually. And we are super excited to get into the podcast world.
That's awesome. And welcome to our universe. We're glad to have you join us and be a part of this Podcast One network. and be a part of the programming here. It's going to be exciting. Lots of new listeners will be finding you and making this happen. But I got to, let's start off, guys. Maybe we'll start with whichever one of you feels like jumping in first. But which one of you, Brennen or Jake, got more interested in the paranormal first?
Well, actually, it kind of happened to both of us at the same time. This is kind of what piqued our interest, basically. So this was back in, I don't even know what year. I was 12 years old. I'm 25 now. So 12, 13 years ago, we went out to Big Bear and we had a cabin. And this cabin just gave such creepy, weird vibes. Like going into this place straight up, just like it felt like a scary movie, like this cabin shouldn't even have been rented, but they gave it to us. And we noticed like a lot of weird photos that were hung up, and, we didn't really pay much attention to all that. And actually that night, like we were hearing weird stuff, but, we just kind of blew it off. We figured, we're in the middle of the forest. It's not that big of a deal. We're in Big Bear. And, there was an apparition that actually happened this night, and we didn't see it. Like, it didn't happen to us, but it happened in the room right next to us, to our uncle. And that's kind of what started piquing our interest. He said he was laying in the room and he saw a shadowed figure. And, we had vibes. All our family is very in tune to like paranormal. I honestly believe my mom is psychic. She claims that she is psychic. So we kind of, we've been through this before in a way. And, so he says he sees this apparition. We're all freaked out, and he actually points to a photo that was on the wall and said, this is the girl he saw. And it was like a very old, maybe like 1940s picture, like black and white, very old. And it was a woman like wearing this long robe. And he said he, puts it on everything, his own life, that this was the woman that stood there. And as soon as he like did a double take on it, it was gone. And right after that happened, I had this like feeling inside of me, like, whoa, like this opened up a whole new, questions in my mind, like, damn, like this actually exists, like I never really had any experience with any kind of paranormal. Like I know it wasn't a personal experience, but it was close enough for me to have some kind of interest in this, that seeing like, wow, when you die, like you're dead, but like you're not really dead. You know what I mean? Like your soul really lives on forever. And that was kind of like the peak interest that really, started me on this interest of paranormal and whatnot. And then later on down the line, like I didn't really think that this could, become a job. It was more of like just an interest, and I would always be Googling things. And later on, my grandmother passed away, unfortunately, rest in peace, God bless her soul. And when I went and saw her body and stuff, like it was just like a surreal moment, and I was just like, there's a dead body in front of me, but she's not really gone. You know what I mean? Because in what I've experienced in a way, like. It was like, it's just so surreal to me that like, you're never really gone. You know what I mean? And like, after that, I was really kind of full-fledged into this. And my brother too, we were like so interested in just this topic of paranormal that it kind of just like, hey, let's, later down the line, let's go into this haunted place and let's see what happened. We brought our camera and, we caught some stuff. And after that, it was kind of history. We kind of fell in love with the thrill of, going in there and maybe catching something and being skeptics. Like that's our biggest thing, is like we are skeptics still. Even though we have our experiences, we still want to like, we want to question things. And I think that was like a real thing for us, is like go out there and let's chase the next question. With every answer brings 3 more questions.
Exactly. Well, now, all right. Tim and I have the same dynamic in the sense that we love the paranormal, but we're skeptics. I probably am more of the Mulder. Tim is more of the Scully. In this, is there that yin and yang in your relationship as brothers as well? Do you, one of you more of a believer, more willing to accept the high strangeness than the other, or do you think you're both pretty even across that board?
I'm definitely the scaredy cat in the whole situation. Brennan's like the hard head, like, let's figure this out. Let's see what that noise came from. And I'm the guy that's like, okay, we got enough. Let's go type of thing. And I've just encountered a couple things in my life, like just when I was younger, driving with my mom in the passenger seat, looking out the window and seeing, like, I saw someone pushing like a stroller, like a woman. And then she was in the middle of the street and another car drove through it. And that kind of just like opened my eyes that there is something, but kind of just scared the crap out of me. And I'm honestly like really terrified of some of the places that we've been to. And I think I'm definitely the person that's like okay, like it's real, but I don't want to be around it.
Yeah, and me on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I'm trying to debunk everything as it comes. I'm like, you know, maybe that was something else. Maybe that was some wind. You know what I mean? Like I'm always the one that's like, I don't know. Let's investigate a little further. So I do feel like we have kind of that yin and yang in a way. And it definitely leads to some interesting videos because we kind of really just force ourselves to be in these predicaments.
Now, you guys are really kind of entrenched in the idea of not just hearing the stories, but investing yourselves into that, which Tim and I appreciate. We started our show back in 2006, and within the year, we were going out investigating these claims, looking into these stories ourselves to see what it's like. And like you, I have these experiences, and you want to be present. You want to be in the moment and see them, witness them, be excited about them. Does it ever detract from you being a skeptic that you can't always really fully appreciate the wonder of that moment? I've done that to myself where I overthink everything, and then I wonder if anything is as it appears to be. Do you know where I'm going with that? And sometimes I have to just allow myself to just be in the moment and be excited and accept it for what it is.
Yeah, of course. I think with like technology now, we're basing like our where we go off of other people's videos, whether it be like a TV show. And I feel that kind of sways us in a way because obviously we go there for a certain reason to see if it's real. And I think like even seeing like other people's situation, like what they experience, it kind of like puts us in a way where we believe it's real before we kind of go there in a sense. Mm-hmm. And then it also takes away, like we've been to some crazy places that is like pure history that they're still around today. And it kind of takes you away in a sense, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. Because I definitely feel like, reading these stories online or hearing them or whatever definitely puts you in a different headspace, and I feel like being present in the moment, it's hard to do. It definitely is one of the most complicated things. It seems so simple, it's just being present, but it actually is, when you go in with a mind of, this person's story is this or that person's story is that, it does take away a little bit because you're almost expecting things to happen rather than just kind of letting them happen. And, we have gone to some places that, are supposedly very scary and very haunted and not a single thing has happened because I think we were so like set on like, this is going to happen. Like this is going to be the freakiest place we've been. And it just doesn't turn out that way because we weren't really present in the moment. We were expecting something that wasn't, going to happen.
Well, let's touch on that. What place were you excited to go to, heard so much about, and when you got there, it was a letdown?
Oh, we just recently, what was that place called? We went to this hotel in Santa Paula, California. Jake's pulling up the name so we can think of it, but it was actually on an episode of Ghost Adventures. Zach Bagans did an episode there, and his episode was absolutely terrifying. I think it was the Glen Tavern. The Glen Tavern Inn is what it's called. And we went there after we watched this video, and we were like literally freaked to our bones because of the content that he put out. And no disrespect on him. I love his show and everything he does. So we went there to investigate on our own. And, after watching his show and really seeing like the craziness that happened in his episode, we were expecting a lot. We literally booked the same exact room, everything like down to the T, and honestly, not a single thing happened in this hotel. Like we stayed there, we were there until the middle of like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and we ended up just saying, you know what, like this is a complete like bust. Like we actually brought our mom out there too because we were thinking like she's extra scared of this stuff as well. So we're like, this is gonna be great. Her fear is gonna build on this video, and it was literally just a normal hotel. Like it was old. It kind of seems like it would be haunted, but not a single thing.
Yeah, there was no like weird vibe when you walked into the room. Like it felt like you were just staying at a normal resort hotel, obviously without the glam in.
Right. It was very, so like that's something that has happened. But we went in there thinking like we had all of our equipment. We had EMFs, we had the rods, we had everything. And we were like, we brought a Ouija board, and it really kind of flopped on us. And we ended up not even like putting out the video. We might still one day, but stuff like that happens. And we're just kind of like, dang, like it does happen,
That, I had a Glen Tavern Inn, right? Mm-hmm. I had some weird experiences there, but there is such a high level of EMF in that old building.
Yeah.
That it makes you wonder if it's not an electromagnetic force. and I don't even know if it's just the old wiring, what's going on, but that can actually agitate you, cause paranoia, even hallucinations. And there were points when we were in there with our K2 meters and Mel meters, they were spiking through the roof. And it wasn't just like a ghostly spike, like it was all night consistently, which does put me in the position of I start to question how much of that is paranormal, how much is not. However, when we were there, guys, we were part of a conference, and I was there with Bill Murphy from the TV show Fact or Faked on the Sci-Fi Channel. And he had done an experiment. He told me up front, he said, yeah, he goes, so for this conference, we've shared all the history of the different ghosts. One of the ghosts isn't real. Mm-hmm. We made up the story in order to see what happens. And we did the conference, and he never told me he wanted to go through the statistical data. He wanted to go through the information to see how it played out afterwards. And about 7-8 months later, we were at an event at the Queen Mary. And one of the attendees walked up to me and they said, Dave, I've got to show you a really cool picture I caught. It was at the Glen Tavern Inn. And I said, okay. And he goes, so I'm in this room. I'm the only one there. I take a picture and look in the mirror. And there's the reflection of this woman in a dress with a pearl necklace. And I said, oh, there's nobody there. He goes, no, my wife and I were the only ones there. She's behind me. So you wouldn't have seen her reflected in the mirror, and this woman's in a different part of the room reflecting in the mirror. So I called Bill Murphy over, and Bill's jaw hit the floor because there's a woman there known as Pearl, or this ghost known as Pearl. That was the one he created. Wow. And yet somebody caught a photograph of her.
That's crazy.
So it does make you start to really question what is happening in the paranormal. Was he influenced to quote unquote create the ghost by the actual spirit, kind of letting herself be known to Bill? Or did the consciousness of 200 people going through there hearing the story and sharing it create this tulpa thought form? So the Glen Tavern Inn, hit or miss for me as you guys had, but it certainly provided a long-term strange story that I still can't really wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's definitely a hit or miss for sure, and that story is pretty crazy because we actually talked to like the guy that was downstairs, the concierge, and we were asking a lot of stories, like what his experiences or anything, just trying to get some knowledge before our investigation started. And he told us like straight up, he's like, a lot of these are folklores or myths, like they're not like we don't have any true evidence. We just kind of have what people say, and I think building on that and building on like a scare before you get there can definitely trick you into making something happen or believe it. But, if there's photo proof, that is something else. That's I don't even know how to, you know what I mean? I don't even know how to react to that. That's crazy though.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about the fact that you introduce things like the Ouija board into an investigation. Now, to a lot of the world, even me mentioning Ouija board may have people tune out of the radio show because they're afraid it's going to open some portal even discussing the Ouija board. And I know that sounds overboard, but I kid you not, Tim and I have received emails that are like, as soon as you start talking Ouija board, I tune out, or I fast forward and try to catch up later. There's such a stigma and fear surrounding it. I'm personally not afraid of the Ouija board or its effects. I think it's just as dangerous as any other tool in the hands of the misinformed. But in employing a Ouija board into an investigation, what are the parameters that make you think, this is one I want to try this tool out on? And then how do you, as skeptics, how do you kind of alleviate the feel that maybe it is that micro pulse that we're creating the motion? We're doing it whether we believe it or not.
Yeah, that's definitely super interesting. And before I touch on that, I kind of want to talk about this experience that I had with the Ouija board. My first experience, which kind of made me interested in Ouija boards in the first place. So this was back when I was about 17 years old, and I was in a film class in high school, and we decided we wanted to make a little scary movie, and we wanted to involve a Ouija board. And at this time, I've never touched a Ouija board. I've never even seen a Ouija board in person. It was always like I knew what it was, but I never would even go near something like that. And I was like, you know what? Because I was the director of this film, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get a Ouija board. We bought one. I think we literally bought it at Toys R Us, like something like crazy, like your kid's store, We bought this Ouija board, and we decided to play it in my buddy's attic because that's where we were filming this scary movie. And it was a very creepy attic. And we start playing this Ouija board. It's me, and just my buddy up there. It's just two of us. Our other two friends decided to go downstairs of the attic, and we were starting to play this board. We're asking questions. It's answering. I'm like, I don't know. Is my buddy moving this or like what? Like, I don't believe it at all. We get to the it starts moving back and forth to the Zozo, right? We had no idea what Zozo was. And if you aren't familiar with Zozo, it is supposedly the demon of the Ouija board. That is like the one that you can come contact with while playing the Ouija board, like the main one that has the most historic, stature. And you can find a lot of information about him online if you Google him. And basically, it's going back and forth just like constantly, almost doing like a figure 8 on the board, spelling Zozo. We didn't think anything of it. I ask, where are you from? Whatever I was talking to, where are you from? It starts to spell H-E-L, and then goes off of L and goes back to L. And at this moment, I'm like, okay, if you're not moving this and I'm not moving this, this is scary. I don't want to play this anymore. And I was like, bro, like, I'm done. He's like, don't take your hands off. I take my hands off the board, and you're supposed to say goodbye before, as you know. And I take my hands off, and I decide to just run. Like, I'm out of here. I don't want to play this anymore. I'm getting chills down my body. I'm terrified at this moment. I run down the stairs of the attic. My buddy follows right after me. And I kid you not, about 2 seconds after we come down from the attic, the board comes flying down behind us. And I don't know what to believe. I want to like cry inside. Like right now I have chills on my body just thinking about this story because I haven't really even explained this story, even on my social media. It's like the one time I did tell a girl this story, my nose started bleeding. It was like, and this was like 6 months later that I told that story and my nose just starts bleeding. I've never had a nosebleed in my life. And that was like the first time that I played a Ouija board, and it scared me to my roots. And then knowing that I'm in, I'm in the entertainment business, I want to bring the most to my audience and whatnot. I thought back at this time and I'm like, this is probably a stupid idea, but let's start playing the Ouija board at places, let's see if we can really, bring this to the next level, because I didn't want to just go in there and, oh, what was that sound? Or, what was that? Did you see that? I wanted to have some kind of hard evidence. And I feel like the best way to do that was to do a Ouija board. And as dumb as it might have been, I think the Ouija board it's a really interesting board. And I can't really tell you how it works. I mean, I don't know. Like, is it us pushing it subconsciously or is it, a spirit there playing with you? But I definitely think like bringing the Ouija board on was like something crazy to do. But I feel like it has definitely helped us in our investigations and, even make us a little less of a skeptic, Well,
that's cool. It's terrifying that it came flying down the stairs after you guys. But I mean, that's a very rich encounter. That's something different than what I've heard. I don't very rarely has anything that dramatic happened, which is good, I guess. But when you're getting the Zozo demon, and we've done shows on that in the past, then you do have to start questioning what exactly are we tapping into?
Exactly.
Who is this? Our friend, the sensitive Chris Fleming, he said, the problem with asking the questions of the Ouija board, Dave, is it's like picking up a phone at random, dialing a number, and asking whoever answers for tips on how to attract the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. You could be tapping into, Brad Pitt, and he'll answer those questions. Or you could be tapping into some 50-year-old virgin living in his mom's basement with Cheeto dust all over his chest while he's playing World of Warcraft, right?
Right.
And that's the guy you're taking the advice from. You don't know who you're plugging into. So you have to be cautious, and certainly in allowing these spirits in, because I understand when it starts taking another level, when the Ouija board starts telling you no longer need the Ouija board to communicate, just give it permission to talk to you directly. Mm-hmm. That's usually a bad sign.
Very.
You're right. You want to stay away from that. But when you're just dealing with the board, again, I think a lot of it has to do with the intention. And you're right. You go into a place with the conception that or perception that it's going to be terrifying, and that there's something scary, or that you're utilizing a tool that's scary. You can give yourself, false positives, because again, I've said it 100 times. I'll continue to say it. I'm a smart ass in life as in death. If I decide to hang around, I'm the guy that's going to push that planchette to "you're going to die" just to scare the hell out of a bunch of teenage kids at a party, right? That's going to be a fun aspect. But you don't know who's responding. You don't know what's a joke. You don't know what's not. So you do need to be very cautious with how you go about doing this. Now, what do you recommend if you've got a lot of young viewers and followers out there? What do you suggest to them if they ask you, should we use Ouija boards to try to communicate to the other side?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I've been asked this question before too, and I think I'm never one to tell you not to do something. If your heart desires to do something, by all means, go ahead and try it. But I think that there is some rules that you should keep in mind before you play, and that's kind of how I do things and my brother does things. Is we make sure there's certain questions you don't ask. Don't say show yourself. Don't say like when is someone gonna die, or anything like that. Like don't ask dumb questions. Basically, if you're gonna play the Ouija board and you're gonna communicate with something a paranormal, ask questions that are good questions. Like where, like what year did you pass away? Like stuff that isn't going to really affect you in the long run. You know what I mean? You never want to invite something in. You never want to like ask it to show itself or communicate with you without the board. That's just, it seems very dumb. But people will do it. Like people will test, how far can they go? And I think with the Ouija board, it's just like, it's a game, but at the same time, it's not a game, because you're inviting something in that you don't know the true intention behind it. It could be good or bad, and I think it should just be played with caution. And I think if you're going to do it, just do it smart. That's kind of my suggestion on it.
All right. Now, do you think as well, that it is any more or less dangerous than a Mel meter, a K2 meter, an audio recorder, any other tools?
I personally do feel like the Ouija board is at the higher level of risk than, say, a K2 meter or like even an EMF reader or anything like that. Like I feel like you are, with the EMF, you're waiting for the lights to kind of tick and stuff, But with the Ouija board, you're literally allowing it to spell out or say whatever it wants, and that could be anything. It could threaten your life, and maybe it won't actually happen, but it's still there, and it's going to be in the back of your head. You're going to fear it, and I'm really into, what you put out in the universe is what you get back. And if, it puts something in your head and now that's all you think about, it could potentially ruin your life that way. Not necessarily it going to, kill you in your sleep or anything like that, but the thought of you being so afraid to go to sleep, maybe now you develop insomnia, you know what I mean? Like there's so much other stuff that can come from it that I think that it is a dangerous thing to do. But like I said, if your heart desires it, go for it. Now,
I've got to ask, obviously, Brennen, you've got some strong opinions on this. Your brother, Jake, what do you think about all of this? What are your thoughts on employing different tools and items to try to communicate with the dead?
I think it's super interesting. I mean, I wasn't always in Brennen's videos. I started a couple years back, so he's been doing it a lot longer than I have. So my first time going onto the Ouija board was with him, and we've done it in a lot of places. And that is honestly the scariest part for me. I think the whole EMF thing, there's so many different triggers. And like if you're in old buildings, sometimes it goes off on like a wall, or even like a phone could trigger it sometimes. And I think like we always try to debunk those situations. And with the Ouija board, there's nothing really you can debunk besides like being like, yo, Brennen, did you touch that?
Yeah.
No. Did you? No. And then that's kind of like, okay, so there's something here. And I think that's honestly the scariest thing about it. And I honestly think it's up there. It's some sort of portal into bringing someone else into the room with you.
Or something else.
Something. Yeah.
Well, let's do this. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. I want to continue talking with you about some of the locations that you visited that were the most unusual, frightening, or even if you've got any funny paranormal experiences, things that surprised you and make you laugh in hindsight. We'll discuss that and more. Again, their show begins airing on Podcast One on September 2nd, so you're going to want to make sure to check it out and be a part of the ride with them. Also, we're going to have links up to them, to their YouTube page and more, so you can find all that information right at the bottom of today's program as well. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after this.
A crime is like a puzzle, and each connection helps reveal the big picture, and it's a thrill when you finally put it all together. And when I'm not thinking about true crime or even True Crime Tuesday, when we put that show together, my brain still craves a challenge. And that's why I love Best Fiends. And if you aren't playing Best Fiends, you're missing out big time. It's the fun and exciting puzzle adventure you can experience anytime, anywhere, and you don't even need an internet connection to play. No Wi-Fi and no worries. I like to play Best Fiends best when I'm connected to Facebook because I've got a whole bunch of friends that I'm connected to via Facebook. In fact, I think it's 139 friends now that I'm connected to via Facebook. And I like to play either connected to my Wi-Fi or to my cell data so I can stay connected to those friends because I like to also give them gifts. You can do that when you log into the game. And so I give them gifts. They give me gifts. Helps us kind of keep connected by either giving each other diamonds or gold or keys or whatever we can to keep each other going throughout the game, which is nice. And I also like I've gotten partial to a few of my characters as well, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about a couple of my characters that I'm partial to, if I may gloat for a minute, if you don't mind. Some people gloat about other things in their life. I'll gloat about my characters for a second. I got Pop, who I think I've told you about before. He's kind of a little blowfish character that I've gotten a little partial to, and Pop's got some special vertical bombs that he likes to blast away the slugs with. Pop's kind of number one in my arsenal. I've also got Gordon, who is a little cranky, like I am sometimes when I wake up in the morning. He's got horizontal bombs that I like to use. He blows things up left and right with those horizontal bombs. And then, of course, I've got Dennis, who looks like a cute little grasshopper, and he's got his horizontal bombs, and he saves the day with those. So those are three of my favorites that I like to unleash on the slugs when I'm playing Best Fiends. Those are my guys. I do have some gals I use as well. Don't think I discriminate. I don't when I'm playing Best Fiends. But those are three of the ones that I like to use. I also like to get my friends and family involved. Of course, like I said, I've got my friends on Facebook that I team up with and compete with on Facebook. We send each other messages when we leapfrog each other throughout the different levels and let each other know that we're getting ahead of them or getting behind. And we share gifts, like I said. We're kind of a tight-knit little family. And you would think that there would, with over 100 million downloads, not be so much tight-knit family there, but there are nice little clusters and nice little groups. So look out for me. Get logged in. Get the download of Best Fiends. It's real simple. You go to the Apple App Store or Google Play and look for me. Look for me by logging in with your Facebook, and you can find me real easy. It's me. You can see me with my little microphone, my little headphones, and get involved in our group. And we'll share gifts, and we'll do all that. You can share gifts along the way with me and our group and get involved, and it gets you built up along the way. We can hang out. We can hang out by playing Best Fiends. It's real simple. The nice thing about Best Fiends, too, is it's always unique. It's always exciting. It never gets tedious. It's a great puzzle game, unlike others out there. Other puzzle games you get involved with, you played it for a while and you're done after maybe a few days. It's tedious. It gets old. Not Best Fiends. Best Fiends updates the game monthly with new levels, new events. It's never old. It just keeps updating, keeps getting different patterns, different boards, different challenges, and you've got new stuff all the time. You've got slugs coming at you different ways. You've got new puzzles to solve. There's always something new with Best Fiends. Also, what's nice is if you find yourself playing in random or weird places, or you play at random times, maybe you're playing on break at work, maybe your partner's watching TV, you're waiting for coffee to brew, you need to, do something real quick. Not a big deal. You're waiting in the parking lot for a few minutes for some reason. Someone's running into the store real quick. You want to play a quick game? It's real easy. You want to play a quick level? Not a big deal. You just jump on your mobile device, play a quick level. Not a big deal. You don't need Wi-Fi. You don't need internet. You don't need cell data. You just get on, play a quick level of Best Fiends, hop right off. Not a big deal. You can collect tons of cute characters on Best Fiends. I think there's like 154, 159, something like that, and all that you can collect. I've got tons of them right now. Like I said, I've got those 3 favorites so that I keep leveling up. And little tidbit here for you. Always level up to level 10. Always go to level 10 and then level from there. You might want to go to level 15 right away, but I always go to level 10 and then level them up from there. Make sure they're nice and powerful when you get them to get you through the different challenges. And there's always new monthly theme challenges, new monthly themes every single month, and you'll see them when they come up. Always take advantage of the new monthly theme challenges. Best Fiends has thousands of levels already with new levels, events, and characters added every single month. It's hours of fun right at your fingertips. And again, you can even play offline. No reason to use your cell data. No reason to jump on the Wi-Fi. You can go offline with it. Over 100 million downloads and tons of 5-star reviews. Best Fiends is a must-play. I'm on it right now. I'm playing. I'm having a great time. Download it right now. Best Fiends for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends.
Hi, I'm Erin Brockovich, and I am thrilled to be launching my new podcast, Superman's Not Coming. I think we are all beginning to realize that we are on our own. But not to worry, we have each other. That's right. You, me, and millions of others are here. And we do have the strength, the heart, and the courage to find our voice and use it. For over 20 years, I've been working with people across the nation and around the world to overcome incredible odds. I hope you'll listen to these tales of men and women just like you who did just that. They rose up, they spoke up, and they didn't wait for a superhero. They became that hero. Each of us has a fighting spirit, and when joined together, is greater than any superpower. So what are you waiting for? Be inspired and be empowered, because Superman isn't coming, but you're already here.
Once a week, every week. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podcast One.
Share Your Scare. That'll be hosted by YouTubers Brennen Taylor and his brother Jake Taylor. That'll be again beginning here on September 2nd on the Podcast One network. So you can find it there and follow along with their adventures as they take their very successful YouTube platform, TikTok, Instagram followers, YouTube, all of that, and bring themselves into a new aspect with podcasting and moving forward to share some of their stories. But to give our listeners a little taste, let's start talking about some of the most haunted locations that you've had that really did pay out, that really maybe even exceeded your expectations. And to start that, let's start off with maybe not so much the most famous locations. Let's start off with some stuff that might be off the beaten trail that people may not be familiar with or as familiar with.
For sure. You know, there's this spot in the middle of Topanga Canyon. It's an old rundown house. The name that I've found for it is Dead Man's Castle. I don't know how accurate that name is, but, you know, us being there, we kept that name. That's the name we found for it. And we decided, you know what, we're going to run with that name. So that's the name. And this place, man, it's from the daytime, it seems like it's a house or a broken down home for homeless people. Like it does.
Yeah, it's a couple walls. With graffiti all over
like it's literally looks like like a meteorite hit this place, but it's definitely interesting. So we went to this place, and this was a place where, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a skeptic. So I don't know what this was, but I'm going to try to explain it. So basically, we're in this place, we're hearing weird noises, and it's not even that big, but there is like an underground part of it where you can kind of go under this like castle in a way. And, you know, me being interested in it, I kind of wanted to like go down there, but at the same time, there's no lighting in Topanga Canyon. Like it's dark. Like there's a couple street lights throughout the canyon, but this particular house, there's nothing. We had our flashlights, we have our big light on top of our camera, and that's about it. And we are in this place. We're seeing a lot of weird graffiti in there too. That's like scary stuff, like you're gonna die or something like that. Just like really weird stuff that kind of like puts you on edge. And while we're in there, my brother decides to go stand on like this makeshift balcony thing. I don't even know what you call it. It's literally just a piece of wood that kind of sticks out. And he's standing there. And as he's standing there, I see what looks to be like what my mind created this was a hand reaching up from underneath, like right next to him. Like not like it was going to grab his leg, but almost like it was reaching up in a way. And I don't know, man, like it just literally looked like a hand come up and it was like up there for a second. And then it went back down like underneath this castle. And like I said, it couldn't maybe have been a homeless person, maybe like I don't know, a crackhead or something. It was weird, or it could have been paranormal. But that was something that really made me jump out of my shoes because it was pitch dark and I just kind of saw a little bit of a silhouette of a hand reach up. And just as fast as I saw it, it disappeared. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, Jake, we need to go now. Like that was something where I didn't want to investigate anymore because it was middle of the night. We don't know what we're walking into. This is foreign territory for us. And, you know, it very much could have been a person that wanted a serial killer for all I know, you know, or it could have been something very paranormal. But when that happened, I was out of it. I was like, let's go. And we had to be careful getting out of this place because the ground is literally like not so stable. There's holes everywhere. But I remember literally leaping across probably a 5-foot gap just because adrenaline was rushing. Jake's behind me with all the equipment running. We're trying to get out of there. And I mean, that was probably like one of like a scarier moment for me because it was something that I really could physically see. And like I said, I'm not to this day sure whether it was paranormal or whether it was a real life human being down there. But all I do know is that I saw a hand and I don't know where it came from or even if a hand could reach up that high because we're on the second floor of this place. Like, I don't know how a hand could have got there. We have not gone back since because that kind of scared me from that place. And, you know, being the skeptic I am, I still not sure what it was or how it happened, but I know it happened. I saw it with my own eyes.
Have you ever considered going back there in the daylight hours to assess it, get those answers for yourself of how this could happen? And most likely you'd see if there's any, you know, ne'er-do-wells that are there on the property, and it would give you a better overall view that way.
So prior to YouTube and everything like that, I actually was doing like abandoned photography, and that's how I found that place. I went to school in Santa Monica College, so I would drive that canyon a couple times a week, and I saw it. So one day I pulled over, went in there, and I have a pretty like good grasp of like what the location was prior to us actually going there and filming a video. I had no idea what it was at that time. That's how I found it. And it's almost like a basement, kind of like a trench under it. I've never been down there, but from the street you can kind of see under it, and it looks like it's kind of in like a creek area where it would rain, and I think it would get flooded down there. So I honestly have no idea what's really under there.
Yeah, and I can tell you I've driven by it. I've never gone back in because that moment scared me enough to like not even really, you know, I saw what I saw, and that's kind of all I needed to see at that point. I didn't really feel like I want to put myself back in that, and you know, I felt like my scare from that was good enough for me. You know, I didn't feel like I needed to investigate it anymore because just I didn't know what I would find down there. It could have been a bunch of people that wanted to mug me for all I know. So I left it as it was. I saw what I saw. That's the story, and I would be scared to kind of go back, to be honest.
Really? So that, I mean, it's affected you that deeply that even this long out, it hasn't challenged you enough to make you want to go back and face that fear?
And not at all. I think there's a lot of other locations that we've done that I would go back 100 times over just because of how cool the experience was. Right. And but that, I don't think so.
Yeah, that just, I don't know. Cause I really like, I mean, driving by, I don't see how a person could have been underneath that. Like, you know, when you drive by, you can kind of look at it. And I don't see how a person could be down there. And I never really wanted to go back, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those places that there would be graffiti that says, "Come down here."
Yeah.
You don't want to go down there.
Right, like free candy down here. Like, I don't know if I want to follow that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute, free candy. Tim and I will be there. We'll be there. No, when I laugh, I'm not laughing at you for not wanting to return. I respect your limits and realizing, you know, there are some things that I'm excited by. There are some things I'm willing to examine. But if I don't feel safe physically or spiritually, I'm not going back. That's great. And I hope that followers will pick up on that as well. That, you know, if your alarms are ringing and it's beyond that fear factor, it's your ESP or your sixth sense or whatever you want to title it, if they're alarming that loudly, there's probably a good reason. So you should ignore it and just not go back to those situations that could put you in danger.
Definitely. One thing that I actually brought my brother back to was when I was like 16, I was into the whole BMX bike riding thing. Me and a couple friends, we hopped into a sewer, like the LA River type of thing. And we were like biking around in there. We decided to go under one of like the tunnels that goes under a street. And I actually heard a baby crying from deep in the tunnel, which scared us because I was 16. So we kind of just ran out. We didn't go in there because even if there was honestly a baby, like I kind of feel bad and I should have gone back there, but I didn't. I was too scared. But coming back like 10 years later, me and my brother actually went down there and explored it. And we ended up finding a backpack, like a school backpack down there deep in the tunnel. And we have no explanation about that, how it got down there. It could have got thrown over and water could have brought it deep in the tunnel. But that's just something that has also been like a weird thing that we went back into. And
yeah, there's certain times where, I mean, like I'm like a firm believer. My mom has always taught me, trust your gut instinct. And, like about going back to the Temecula place, like my gut instinct just told me not to go back to that. And, this speaking of this tunnel, like that was so weird. Like, cause it was near like an elementary school too. Yeah. And that's like the other weird thing is like, it is a tunnel, but in the sewer, by an elementary school, and there was the backpack. Maybe it was thrown over, who knows? But there was a backpack in there, and it really was just kind of scary. And then going back to, I never even heard the baby crying story. Like that scares me right now because why is there a backpack in there now? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, now that you've kind of put this two and two together, did you look through the backpack? Was it loaded with stuff? Do you think maybe you should alert the authorities to let them know that there's a kid's backpack and that at one point you did hear a kid, or, what sounded like a child crying?
Yeah, it was definitely like 10 years in between both of the time. I mean, the first and the second time I went down there, we actually found like some school stuff in there. I think we found a camera.
Like a little disposable camera.
Yeah, like some weird stuff. It just, I don't know if that was paranormal or just like something.
Right, or maybe someone just trying to do some stupid little prank. But I mean, it was definitely weird and eerie. And I think, maybe I would go back in there and just kind of explore it a little more, because there was a point where we decided not to go further just because I was like, we kind of went deep in this and there's only one way out, So if something came out on the other side, an animal or a person or something, even like a paranormal, there's only one way out of this tunnel, and that's back. And if something comes from that back way, the only other way to go is deeper in the tunnel. And I didn't know where this tunnel led. We didn't alert any authority to it because we did that one time, and it led to lots of trials and cases, but that was regarding something totally different, not paranormal. And we kind of just don't call the cops anymore, just because it leads to so much more headache later. But we probably maybe should have.
Yeah, probably.
Well, and here's the deal, though, guys. If you're videotaping these things, especially upon your discovery, you've got such a big following now. It's not like you're just two chuckleheads that just happen to stumble upon it one time. And well, it's interesting that you two, of all people, would stumble upon this thing, and where were you when this happened, and start getting into those questions that could put you underneath the microscope.
Exactly.
But you might actually help solve some cases. Maybe there's some children that have gone missing in that area, and this might give an answer. So you might want to reconsider that aspect of it, especially with your popularity and fame at this point.
Yeah, we didn't really take that into consideration, but now thinking back, it might it might be true. We should definitely do some research and see if there has been any kids missing. I think being the skeptics that we are, we kind of just brush it under the bus and think, oh, maybe someone's just trying to play some stupid joke on someone. I don't know, like really, but I just know like a lot of the places that we do go to, it's kind of illegal to go into the places that we're going. We kind of, I don't even know if I'll get in trouble saying this, but we kind of hop fences to get into certain places. And I feel like almost if we bring that to, we obviously don't show that in the video because then it can get linked back to you and you can get in trouble that way. But, it can get us into trouble just doing the things that we do. So we have to also kind of keep that in mind and be careful with that.
Right. Well, be careful. And folks, again, we advocate don't sneak into places. There's too much danger. The guys are telling you, Brennan and Jake are letting you know there is danger involved. And in some of these locations, it's not just the paranormal you have to be afraid of. You don't know who's taken up residence there. If it's the homeless, if it's drug addicts, if it's gangs or other issues. But certainly if you find something, folks, Tim and I always suggest take a photograph, GPS, the coordinates, whatever. Explain to the police what you found, where you found it, because it may be an answer to something somebody really needs. And obviously, you know, for a lot of you, this is going to be something that you're afraid to get involved in. But if this was your child, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, or grandparent that had wandered off, if you could get that closure, it's always worth that phone call, because you know you're innocent. You've got nothing on you that's going to prove that you've been involved in the crime. It's not, you know, bad sharing this, but videotape yourselves going in and finding what you discover. That way you've got it on tape. You've got, you know, that security of you stumbling upon it the first time, or returning to take the photographs and explaining why you're going back. And you know what? There's also a lot of cops, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a lot of cops that are really into the paranormal. And might be willing to just join you to go back and A, investigate it for the paranormal weirdness, but B, if you've got a cop with you that'll be willing to look at these places that there's some spooky stuff, or at least have your back if you're going into a place that may have, you know, the human element that's more dangerous, it's always good to have backup that way too. So be cautious, both of you and all of the listeners, be cautious when and how you access these locations.
Oh, for sure. And we actually tried to go back to that location, and I ended up really injuring myself when we tried to go back. We tried to hop over that fence again. And like, this is what I want to put a warning out to the listeners is you got to be careful doing stuff like this, because I ended up trying to hop a fence and slipping on the fence and it's slicing into my arm and having to get like 3 or 4 stitches in my arm. And I was gushing everywhere, holding onto my arm while we're flooring it to the hospital. And like, so it is very dangerous doing these things. So be warned, you know, there's a lot of other aspects other than just paranormal. You could get injured down there and be stuck in the tunnel. You know, what if we broken a leg and got stuck in there and never have been able to get out? You know, there's a lot of other dangers that do occur. So be careful.
Amen. All right. Well, that's one of the places that was kind of off the beaten path and certainly frightening and bizarre. What to you is another one of maybe the more famous places you visited that lived up to its legend?
Okay, we have two really good ones. So I'll start. We have the Myrtle Plantation. We'll start with that one, and then we'll move into Suicide Forest at the end. Myrtle Plantation, man, oh my God.
There is so much rich history there.
Yeah, that place is very crazy, and I highly recommend, you know, because it's a hotel. You can book rooms in there. I highly recommend, if you are in Louisiana, to go stay there. It's such a historic place, very pretty, and very scary.
Definitely.
Like we ended up in Louisiana. We were filming just other videos out there, and because we also do some kinds of like food videos and travel. We were doing at the time like 1 stars. We were following 1 stars of Yelp, and we were going to like the worst reviewed all over the United States. And we ended up getting a tip like from someone, a fan. They messaged us on Instagram and told us about the Myrtle Plantation, and we had no idea what this place was. We did our own little history research of it, and we end up at this old like. How do you even explain this place? Like,
it's a plantation. So, I mean, it's early 1900s.
Yeah, like
built.
There was tons of slaves on this property, and those are a lot of the operations that you see. And well, we went on a night where it was pouring rain, thunderstorms.
Mind you, it was not pouring rain
until we got
there. And it was crazy. We left our 5-star hotel, drove an hour or so to go to this place, and it was nuts. We got the most haunted room there. We talked to the girl in the front. She gave us a little history. We ended up being like only one of 2 people staying in like the side of the building that we were staying in, and we had access to like a little living area and then a staircase, and then that's where our room was. So we were the only ones in that side. So anything that happened was in that area, and you can't. Like, there was no one else there to make a noise or anything like that. There was a couple times where we heard something, ran downstairs, and there was the people outside, like, drinking beer, and we're like, hey, did you make that noise?
Yeah.
Did you slam a door? No. And they laughed at us kind of thing. And
That was like the first thing of the night. And that place really prizes themselves on people's experiences. Like they in their lobby, they have like an iPad up there with people's pictures. Like, cause they're in this room that we have, there's a mirror in there called the murder mirror. That's what it's supposedly called. And in this mirror, supposedly a lot of apparitions show. Like, so us knowing this, we decided to, let's just go down there. No big lights, no nothing. Let's just bring our phones and let's just take a bunch of photos with the flash just all throughout the room. And what we caught on our phone, like we did this and thinking like, oh, maybe we'll get something. What we have on an actual photo, like for proof, is in this mirror. Like it was just a random photo, and I have like multiple photos where you can see something and then see it completely disappear, like from like a 3-frame photo. And it's the same photo basically because I was just snapping, and what looks like is it looked like a woman creeping in the corner of the mirror, like almost like as if she's inside the mirror and she was looking out at us, and like she's like creeping on the corner. Oh my God, I have chills again. I took this photo. You clearly, clear as day, see it. It's up on my Instagram too, and you see it, and then you swipe onto the next photo, and you can see it disappearing. And on the last photo, which is the same basic photo, there's nothing in the mirror. And that was something that we saw, at like 2 a.m. when we went back up to our room to actually look at these photos.
Definitely. And we went down there a couple times prior and after to try to see what that was. It was nothing that you can like recreate. Literally looked like someone was around the corner peeking in.
That was so freaky. And we showed the people in the lobby this, and they're like, oh my God, like you're going to want to look at this. And then they showed us on this iPad all these other photos of similar experiences and similar kind of photos. And there's some really freaky stuff where people have taken photos and you can see like a little girl in the background or a woman in the background. And when we did the historic tour the next morning, we later found out that there was like a slave that was there who was actually like killed because they thought that she was like sleeping with one of the guys that
the
owner of the plantation. And that's who we kind of believe. Maybe that's who it was. I don't know exactly, but there was a lot of other little things that kind of, led them together and pieced this puzzle together that were really freaky about this place. And even just hearing like steps, and it almost sounded like boots walking when it was only us in this whole half of this place. So there's a lot of stuff that we can't explain from this place, but
yeah, and supposedly there's a lot of stuff that didn't even happen to us that happens in that same room, which like brings me back to I would be 100% down to go back there.
Right, because there's tons of other little cottages. Like it's a big plantation. It's probably a couple acres, to be honest. And we were on one side of it. Then there's these other little cottages that are kind of like out in the distance that are like past the lake and like in the forest. It almost feels like you're in a forest at this plantation because these cottages are set up out there. And there's actually like stories and tales of different experiences happening in each one of these cottages. Like the whole place is just very like filled with apparitions and paranormal. And that is definitely a place that if I'm in Louisiana again, or maybe I even take a trip to Louisiana just to go to this place, because I would like to stay in another one of these rooms just because there's so much history in this place. And it truly, and that was a place that we didn't have a Ouija board. We didn't really have anything there.
No. I think even the whole situation with the rain was very spooky. The moment we walked into the room and thunder and lightning lit the room up.
We have this on video. The moment we walked in, it was almost like an omen or a sign. That's how I took it. It was like an omen. Literally, it started to rain right when we got there. We opened the door to see our room for the very first time.
We're doing an intro pretty much. Like we are in the most haunted hotel in America.
And then boom, thunder, lightning so loud that it shakes the whole entire building. And like it's on there. It's organic. Like we screamed, because like we were not expecting a giant thunderstorm. Yeah. And like I felt like really that was like the beginning of a very scary night. And I was 100% correct on that.
I will be honest. We slept in our clothes with the lights on.
We were ready to dip at any moment. I slept with my shoes on because like I never want to run from places, but if I get scared enough, I am out. You know what I mean?
Completely. It's funny to me that the paranormal aspects weren't the creepiest to you. It was the thunder and the lightning, right? It goes right back to the youngest version of each and every one of us. Not that you two are old pieces of Naugahyde like Tim and I, but for God's sakes, thunder and lightning can terrify you, especially when you're in a haunted place. It's a total Scooby-Doo moment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was definitely, I think, on the top of our list of scary places that we went, because there was just so much there, and there's so much evidence, and like there's tons of other videos too of other people that have made online, not even like YouTubers, just people who went there and they documented their experience. And like there's videos of people going outside like in the front of the plantation and then seeing in their own room where there's no one else, like a shadow, you know what I mean, through like the blinds. Like there's so much evidence in this place that I really truly feel like a professional paranormal investigator should go in there. Like I would say we're a little amateur at it, but we do our best. But I feel like someone who has all the very expensive equipment should go in there and investigate this place. And maybe, hey, we'll buy the equipment and do it, because this place was something else.
That sounds like it. Now, Myrtles, I've not had the opportunity to go to. I was working for Ghost Adventures at the time as their location scout and got them in to do that episode at Myrtles. And I know it's got quite a rich history and quite a terrifying haunting. Do you do anything to protect yourselves going in or out of these investigations?
Yes. So we have crystals. We're very into crystals and spiritual healing and stuff. So we do like to, when we can, we always have, like black onyx on us or something just to repel negative energy. And we're very much into saging and smudging. So we do try to do that when we can. At this place in particular, we didn't bring our sage because we weren't expecting to go to something like this. But, we do, we try to say a prayer or something, just something to protect us. But that's kind of our best rituals is just, let's pray. Let's send a prayer out there and pray that we're safe during this.
Yeah, and going into it, we really had very little knowledge about it. Usually we do a ton of research, ton of videos. We pretty much were like looking things up on Google.
On the drive.
On the drive up there, the hour drive, and trying to figure it out. And it was definitely spooky.
Yeah, because we literally weren't expecting to go there. Like I paid for 2 hotels that night because we had our really nice hotel, and then we ended up not even staying there because we found out about this Myrtle Plantation that was like an hour and a half away. So we hit the road as soon as we found out about it, and we were doing our research on the road, and then we just did it.
Now, do you ever feel that the energies that you encounter mess with you in your regular daily life?
Yeah. Oh man. Back when I used to live in Hollywood, this was definitely some kind of very scary stuff. I was, I'm making YouTube videos. I decided it would be a good idea to play the Ouija board in my house, which is something I also recommend not to do. If you are going to play the Ouija board, play it somewhere else, just in case something comes. It's hopefully not going to be
somebody else. Screw up somebody else's house, not yours.
Right.
Totally.
So I decided to play the Ouija board in my apartment, and man, like after I did that, it was in this apartment. It was like an older style apartment, like it wasn't like it wasn't modern at all. Like very like it kind of gave off a little bit of a creepy vibe. So we played this there, and I woke up one day with what I pieced it as was scratches on my arm, and I don't know where they came from. Maybe I scratched myself in the middle of the night, not knowing, but I woke up with almost looked like 3 claw marks on my arm. And I don't know how it came. It wasn't like something where I was bleeding, but it was, my hand was red, and it looked like it got something scratched me. And like I said, it could have been myself in the sleep, but I woke up with that, and I felt like, I probably should not have played the Ouija board in that house. My buddy from Australia used to stay with me at my place when he would come, and he would tell me so much about hearing things in the middle of the night because he was all super jet lagged, so he wouldn't sleep at the same time I would. And he would tell me dude, last night was the freakiest night of my life. I heard something in the kitchen while I was in my room. I didn't even want to go check it out because it scared me so much. He's like, I just literally went under my covers and I just, I put my headphones in and he tried to ignore it. But there was a lot of little weird things that would happen in that apartment, and I'm just so grateful that I don't live there anymore, and I apologize to the landlord. But yeah, that is definitely something I highly recommend not to do, is playing the Ouija board in your house or apartment, because that apartment, definitely, I messed it up. I ruined it. I don't even think I should have got my deposit back for that place.
Wow, that's you're taking quite a bit of culpability for whatever you published there. Yeah. Now, do you I guess, Jake, do you believe in bringing these things with you, that you can invite this energy into your world even after you've left a location?
Yeah, of course. I think, we've had even like dolls that have been doing weird things or like showing up into weird places. We've been in, where were we? We're at the old military base where we found a doll in an old military base.
Yeah, we went. Oh my God, we have stories after stories.
Yeah, I think just like, of course, I think you can open a portal to something and bring something that you necessarily don't want to invite into your life.
Yeah, and I definitely think that, we have, I don't think currently have anything following us. And I think that has to do with, like smudging and, really clearing our energy. But I do think that it is very possible that something can get attached to you, depending on how strong your energy is and how you practice, your safety and whatnot. I definitely feel like something can and will follow you if you're not careful.
All right. I know we don't have a whole lot of time left together, but let me hear a couple more of your really scary stories, and some of just the real underpants changing moments you guys have had in investigating these different places.
Oh, for sure. So back in 2017, I took a trip to Japan. Jake wasn't there on this one, but we went on a little, it was a YouTube trip. I went with 3 other YouTubers, and we went out there specifically to make content. So we did it's 12, 13, or 14-day trip, went all over Japan, and one of our last stops was going to the Yakiagara Forest, also known as the Suicide Forest. And this place is known as the Suicide Forest because of in Japan, people are they're held to a certain standard of you need to work, support your family, and that's it. You work until you die, and you support your family, and that's it. And as modest as it is, a lot of people can't handle that. And this place has the highest rate of suicides. I don't know if in the world, but maybe in the world. And we decided to go stay the night there. So we got there for our investigation about midnight-ish, and we stayed until the sun came up at 6 a.m. And we walked through this forest, and man, this forest was something else. If you haven't had the chance to go there, I almost want to say it's not you shouldn't, because it's such a scary, dark vibe. As soon as you get there, you feel the energy, you feel the sadness, you feel just lost souls in there. It's really heart-wrenching, really sad just to be in there. And even just right when you're standing outside and you're looking in it, you're just wow, this is some people's last moments on earth walking into this place.
And I think the whole thing of it being lost is there's a lot of people that go in there and you can't find your way out.
Right. So if you we did a lot of research before going into this place, and it was if you're going in there, bring markers. So not markers you draw with, but markers to mark on trees and stuff, because basically what people will do if they're not sure if they want to really commit suicide is they mark, because you go to a certain path in this trail. There's a trail in there, and you're safe if you're on the trail because you can turn back and you know your way back. But where people end up, ending their lives is they go off trail. So, and the thing about this place is it is a complete forest. You cannot see the sky once you're in there. Pitch darkness. There's trees over everything. You don't know where you are. It's very easy to get lost in there. You take one wrong move, you're not sure where you're at now because your just internal compass is so gone. And so you're told to bring markers in there so you can mark the tree and then mark another tree maybe 30 feet or maybe 50 feet ahead so that you follow those trails to get back. And a lot of people, they don't do that. Maybe they have a second guess of, I don't want to do this. I don't want to end my life. I want to go back. They get lost and they end up starving out there and dying that way too. Because it's so easy to get lost in there.
Yeah, I don't even think government, police and stuff want to go in there themselves.
Yeah, there actually is an organization that goes in there once a month to collect bodies, because it's gotten so bad that they have to send people out there to go collect bodies because it's so bad. And on our walk in there, there's a lot of weird stuff. we ended up seeing a pile of bones, animal bones, right? So we're thinking, Yeah, we see that and we're like, oh shit, like that means there's something out here, predator, that could get us. You know what I mean? Like as soon as we saw these bones, like there was a lot of bones. Like it wasn't like just like one bone. It was a whole pile of an animal laying there. And that was like our first thing, like, holy crap, you know, like this is real. And we're like, whatever, we're here for a video. We got to do what we got to do. We kept going. Our flashlights start acting up. They're dying, right? Like we really put new batteries in every single flashlight before we got in there. You know, we don't know how long we're going to be in there. We're like, we need to be safe. We need to have everything we have. We have our backpacks. We have fresh batteries in our things, and our fresh batteries in our flashlights. Our flashlights start to blink, like they're flashing, right? Like ticking on and off. And we're like, oh crap, like one goes off at a time, then the next one. And slowly, like we're literally holding onto our phones, using our phone flashlights because our flashlights are dying and we're in the middle of this forest. We're like, yo, let's just turn off that flashlight. Let's save whatever juice it's got because we don't know. We're all holding our phones. We're using our phones as flashlights. And we decided to mark some areas and go off. And we had this really real conversation in there that was like, look, we may or may not see a body tonight, and we just need to all be okay with the fact that this might change our lives. You know, the way we view things, to see a body like in the way that we would see it in there it's something else. I've never seen, like, you know what I mean? Like to see someone who ended their life, like you're never going to get that image out of your head. You know, like if you see someone hanging in there, that's it. You're not going to ever forget that. And we all had to come to terms with like, look, are we cool with this? You know, like, are we going to be able to keep going? And I think it was a very hard decision, but, you know, as our friend paid for this whole trip and this was his video, we're like, we got to do it. We got to, you know, do our best at, you know, going through this forest. And we had to come to terms with that. And when we did, we were like, let's do this. So we went in there and we saw like a tent deep in there. We saw a tent. And I was like, oh, man, like I really don't want to go further. Like we had this decision. We were like probably 100 feet from it, but in the pitch darkness, our flashlight was the only thing that could really see it, and we could see it in the distance. And we were like, you know what? I don't think we need to see what we came out here to see. You know, we don't need to see this. It's not something we need to see. We want to make this video, but we're not trying to scar people for the rest of their lives. You know, and actually, in the comments is where we found this out because we couldn't see it in the pitch dark, but people have pointed to like 54-minute point in this video. There is what looks to be a body laying in like a bush. And we didn't see this with our own eyes because it was so dark in there, but people have pointed it out. We have paused the video like from the raw footage, boosted the exposure, and we think that's what it was. And that video is up and live, and it's very scary because, you know, we were standing right near this and didn't even know it. You know, that was something that
can really scar you going in. I mean, what do you feel, you know, in being in a place like that that's filled with such sadness and desperation and death? I mean, was there a palpable feeling to it, or was it just, you know, I mean, is it hard to say because you're going into it already with this preconceived notion?
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird. It's something that you can't really like explain. It's something that's got to be felt on your own, but it's something that's just like, I mean, man, it's really hard to try to explain it. But like, you know, you do know what you're getting into before you get into it. You know, like it's the name of the place, Suicide Forest. You know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and I think it's preparation, and it's, you know, coming to terms with that's what it is, and that's what you might be seeing. And as hard as it is and hard as it was, we kind of just had to do what we had to do at the time. And, you know, I'm lucky that I didn't see that body at the time because I don't know what I would have done or how I would have reacted. I'm only glad that it popped up in the comments and not me seeing it head on, because I don't know how I would have reacted at all to something like that.
All right. Well, that definitely fits among one of the more bizarre, but what about the most paranormal like experiences, truthfully, not just the creepiest aura of a place, but the weirdest and most terrifying moments for you?
Yeah, well, going actually back to Suicide Forest, later that night, we had a lot of time in there, you know, so we ended up playing, this is another stupid idea, but we ended up playing the Japanese version of a Ouija board. And this was something that you could create on a piece of paper, and you basically like write out the alphabet and like some numbers, and then you do like this red circle. I don't exactly recall how to make it right now, but you use a quarter and we start playing this game in the middle of the forest. We stop and like decide to start playing, and it starts moving like no joke. Like this thing is moving, and we are all freaking out. My buddy starts to get really sick, like randomly. Like we were all 100% healthy. He actually starts to throw up while we're playing this game. Like it was weird, and it went to like the number 4, right? And we were like, why is it number 4? Like, what does that have to do with us? And my friend points out, there's 4 of us in here right now, you know? And as soon as he points that out, I don't know the name of this bug, but it is a giant bug, a terrifying bug. Like, I don't like bugs at all. Bugs, I think, scare me a little bit more than paranormal, but these bugs start attacking us. They're flying at us. And I really feel like it came from this board. It was almost like something out of a scary movie, man, because it almost felt like, you know, like when you see, like in the movies where like all these bugs are coming out of like a dead person's mouth or something. It felt like that, like some Silence of the Lambs type stuff. And these bugs are swarming us, giant bugs. And we decided, you know, we can't play this game anymore. This game is what's doing it in this place. And I think that probably tops my list of probably one of the most paranormal investigations that I did with Suicide Forest, because of all these different things and these noises that came out of this place, and almost sounding like something was following us while we were in there throughout it. And I don't know, maybe it was a guardian angel because nothing happened to us, but something was in there with us. And I think when we played this game, it was like something telling us we need to get out of there. Like, we shouldn't be playing this because all of these bugs, like big giant bugs, were attacking us. And it was so just an uncomfortable feeling. And not to mention, my buddy starts throwing up randomly. Like, you know, I don't think you could just force a throw up to come out of your mouth. It's, you know, something's going on with him. And, you know, I think that really tops my list of the most paranormal, the most scary place that I've been, because of all just the negative energy that's in there, all in one like place, you know?
Jake, what about you?
I think one place that was really scary for me was the Clown Motel.
Oh, man.
This is in Topanov, Nevada. It's way out from Las Vegas, maybe 4 or 5 hours out of there.
In the desert.
In the middle of the desert. And this place, I don't know when it was built, but it's on the same property as
a graveyard.
A graveyard. Yeah, and supposedly the owner of the hotel, or the owner's parents, are actually buried in that graveyard, and they decided to build a hotel next to it. I don't know why, but the whole hotel is dedicated to clowns. There's probably 1,000 clowns in the main lobby, and every room is clown related. And we're checking into this place, and there's a clown on the wall, and it just starts making noise, whatever the clown was doing. Like, I don't know. I didn't even know those clowns had remotes, or how fresh. Like, is someone actually changing those, or is someone controlling it?
Right.
I don't know, but just walking in there was freaky.
Even the guy that was checking us in was freaking out.
Yeah, he was even scared. He didn't even understand how it was going on, and that could have been him playing it up. But that rest of that night was so spooky. We got woken up to something staring through the window at us.
Yeah, and we have it all. Like, we have video. We recorded all night long, and like something was out there. It was literally us two in the room, and there was something outside. And as soon as we saw it, is as soon as it was gone, too.
Yeah, and even we ventured out into the graveyard in the middle of the night, and there was things that were happening farther away. The flashlights were blinking. The audio of the mics was going in and out, you know, like making like static interference, which is all like ties to paranormal. That place, man, there's some rich history there too, because the graveyard is actually, there was a mine fire back in like 1940s or something, a big mine fire where a lot of people lost their lives. Most of the town lost their lives. It was a mining town.
Yeah, and they were buried in that graveyard, and there was such weird energy there. Almost like, I felt like multiple times I heard voices that weren't explained, because there was literally like one person staying at that hotel.
Yeah,
like,
he was in the other corner. Some guy from Germany that rode a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And it was just a really weird place.
Very weird, scary, like interesting place, but very scary how you'd have a whole clown motel. And that probably also tops our list. There's so many scary places that we have that are not even popping in my mind right now, but thank you for bringing that one up.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
All right. Well, how has this crisis affected you and your investigations, because it's basically just the two of you, that hasn't stopped your ability and desire to get out there?
We haven't traveled much besides the Glen Tavern Inn. That was our only one that we've done in the last couple months.
We've tried to keep it to California-only spots right now, but we kind of feel like we've exhausted a lot of those spots.
That's kind of where we started to do everything, so we kind of are stuck.
We're on a standstill right now. We haven't really been able to make those videos just because we don't want to hop on a plane. A lot of these really cool places, like we've been to some really cool places in Ireland and out of the country. Like we went to a mental asylum in Ireland.
What about the island that we snuck on?
Oh my God, dude! We have stories. What is that called? Petroli. So we went to an island that is banned in Italy where
Paviglia.
Yes, Paviglia. We went there and we had to pay a random man who was on a boat. I went up to this random man on a boat because they won't take you there. No one will take you there. It's banned. You're not allowed to go there. And I went up to this guy and I'm like, yo, how much money for you to drive me to this island right now? And he was like, oh, I'll get €250. And I was like, you know what? I don't care how much that is. Let's do it. And I paid him the money. He drove us out there. And
mind you, we're in a foreign country. We don't speak the language.
We don't know this guy.
We don't even know the guy who took us. And funny story, the guy agreed, said come back in an hour, and a different guy showed up to take us, which was already very sketchy thing to being in a foreign country. Our mom pretty much said, all right,
She's like, turn on your trackers on your phone and good luck.
We pretty much had an hour once we got to the place. The guy waited for us, and we explored this place. We didn't go too deep into it. I think I will say maybe we are the first YouTubers
to go there,
to go to that island. I know a lot of people have done it after. A lot of people have hit us up and said, how did you do it? How'd you get there? Because we were like ready to rent a canoe and I
was ready to paddle us out there. Like my mind was set on going to this island, and
it was not planned at all either. We were on a family vacation,
and we heard about it, and I was like, Mom, I'm not gonna be going to anything with you today. Go travel Italy on your own. I'm going to this island. So we went to this island, and I truly feel that something was there. Something or someone was there. I don't know, paranormal or not, but I truly felt when I was there, a presence there, and we heard noises, like major noises. Something sounded like it was coming at us at multiple times. Like we had to like stop and like check our surroundings, thinking like someone is running at us right now, you know?
Yeah, and the history of that place, it was I think it was for the Black Plague, right?
Oh yeah, they
would dump the bodies there on that island because there's so many deaths happening. So supposedly, if you go deep far enough and you've like really explore, you can still find bones to this day in that area, and the whole area is very like nothing grows there, kind of like it's just
because it was that was the saying when we read. It was like nothing grows there, but when we got there, it was very overgrown and like it was almost like a forest in a way on an island. And it was interesting because when we were in there, we were exploring. We started going deeper and deeper in, and we start to notice smoke. Right? Like why is there in one of the buildings like smoke coming from and we have that on video too. And I'm like, Jake, that's smoke right there. And I don't know why, but I just got this real feeling that we were being set up for some conspiracy. Like they were gonna burn down this island and blame it on the two Americans who decided to go to the island, you know, because it's a banned island. Smoke's starting to come out of this place. I'm like, Jake, we need to go now. And like we're hearing noises, and like I honestly started to panic because I'm thinking they're setting this up. This is a huge thing that they're gonna do for us. We're gonna get locked up in Italy jail. We're never gonna be able. All these thoughts are rushing through my mind.
We went there to really see if it was paranormal, but we ended up leaving early just because of how scary it was. We didn't even spend the whole hour there. We ran back, and the guy in the boat was smoking a cigarette, like totally fine.
Yeah,
and which we ended up still like walking around for a little bit longer after because we thought he was going to leave us there.
Yeah, we weren't sure if the guy was going to be there when we got back. That was like another thing. I was like, watch us run back to this guy, and he's not there, and they just set us up. Now we're stuck on this island that's burning, and we are going to be the only ones to blame. So much is going through our minds, and not to mention the rich history of this place that scared us to our wits. But I definitely think there was not only paranormal there, but something shady was going on.
Yeah, something
because
very evil.
Nothing can explain that smoke that just started coming out of a random abandoned building. And I didn't really want to go investigate further just because of all these negative thoughts that I started to think was about to happen to us, that I was like, I need to get off this island.
I got to tell you, if you two keep these shenanigans up, you're going to look like Tim and I in about 5 years. You're both so edgy and paranoid that the world, we're afraid they're going to burn down the island and blame it on the two Americans.
That's all that was going through our head.
Yeah, you live that lifestyle, you're going to look like Tim and I, and that's not going to be good for your business.
Hey, you guys are two handsome guys. You look like you're doing pretty well for yourselves. It might not be that bad.
We're always, you guys are out investigating and sneaking onto creepy islands. We're just looking for the next McRib. There's a difference in our investigative techniques, but either one leaves us frightened at the end. Right. Very cool, guys. Well, we wish you a lot of success with the show, which launches again here on September 2nd on Podcast One Network. The show is called Share Your Scares, and that's Share Your Scare, hosted by Brennen Taylor and his brother Jake. We'll have a link up on today's program for their YouTube page to follow along as well. Guys, stay safe, and we wish you much success and a long life in this field.
Thank you so much for having us on. It was a true honor. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. We will be back again Tuesday with more of the best in true crime talk radio. Next weekend with more of the best in paranormal talk radio. Make sure you tune in and check that out as well. I'm Dave. That's Tim. This is the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio.